to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and I'm wondering if you are still attached to maybe guilt, shame, or some kind of regret from your past. And that's because the client that this hypnosis session that you're about to listen to was based on was for a client that, even though the guilt and blame did not belong to them, they were still carrying it. And it was related to suicides earlier on in their life, and they still felt an element of blame. And that's a natural part of the grief cycle. The grief process is what's called the stage of bargaining, where people think, should I or could I have done something different? And therefore, because there's a thought of, well, maybe I could have done something different, that then creates this element of, because I didn't, therefore I'm culpable. Now, that isn't true. Nobody has a time machine. And if people had a time machine, they would absolutely go back and do things differently. But we don't. And, that element of feeling emotional pain linked to the past can be quite a heavy burden. So this hypnosis session uses elements of levels of disassociation. It also has a perspective of going back to the past, seeing things in a different way, but also something called acceptance and commitment therapy. And Stephen Hayes is probably the most famous, let's say, therapist connected to ACT, as it's known. And it uses a lot of very powerful metaphors. And one of my favorite metaphors that relates to acceptance and commitment therapy is this idea of being attached to something heavy, like a boulder or a rock, and being tethered to it. And now you've got a dilemma. There's this whole future that you want, but now you have a choice. You can either let go of that burden and pursue these wonderful things in your future, or not have those wonderful things and forever be tethered to this heavy burden. And what that does is it creates a binary framework to make a decision. So this particular client imagined being attached to a huge boulder and also being attached to it by a cord. Now, this utilizes two metaphors, cord cutting and the boulder, the acceptance and commitment therapy metaphor that represents the blame and the shame and the guilt of the past. So there's a lot going on here. Now, it's unlikely that you're listening to this and there's been a suicide in your life. What's highly likely is that there is something that's happened in your past that still makes you feel a certain way. That might be resentment, that might be anger, that might be something else. In which case, I would encourage you to think very carefully as to what is the thing that you want to let go of before this hypnosis session starts. Therefore, by setting the intention, you're going to get so much more value from this particular session. And if you like the idea of a personalized session with me, rather than just listening to these recordings, there will be a link in the description where you could schedule a completely free consultation call. We'll have a chat over Zoom, and it might be the case that I end up being your hypnotherapist. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of release. As if Any feelings of worry, stress, or tension are starting to leave your body as you exhale. Breathing in pure relaxation and exhaling tension. Perhaps from around your forehead, your jaw, neck or shoulders, arms feeling limp and loose. And notice that the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I wonder if you could imagine a beautiful meadow. Not just any meadow. The kind of meadow that is awe-inspiring. Beauty. Natural. A place that feels safe, sacred, and even timeless. Imagine being barefooted on that meadow, feeling the grass is soft and real, grounding beneath your feet. And I wonder if you could imagine the smell of sweet scent of wildflowers there in the breeze. The air is fresh, pure, and filled with maybe the subtle song of birds in the distance. And I want you to imagine that you are not alone. I want you to see a child. You'll know the age. And imagine holding that child's hand. And I want you to see that standing around you both are 4 Native American warriors, protectors of your spirit. Their faces are calm and strong, and they represent powerful resources, perhaps courage, honor, strength, or wisdom. They are protectors, and each one stands at a direction: north, south, east, and west, forming a circle of protection around you. And then notice the innocence of that child. Maybe you see part of yourself in that child. Gentleness, pureness, innocence, vulnerability. And maybe that is a part of you that experienced the world before you ever started carrying burdens that were never yours. And the protectors stand guard, ensuring that nothing harmful can enter this sacred space. And maybe you feel their energy surrounding you, like a circle of light, a feeling of safety and belonging, a reminder that at some level you have always been protected, even when you didn't know it. And as you breathe in that sense of safety, you can begin to notice the way the sunlight dances on the field, the way the clouds drift slowly by, And with each breath, your body drifts deeper into calm, your mind deeper into peace, and your heart deeper into healing. And I want you to imagine somewhere not far away, and maybe still within that sacred circle, is a portal, a gateway to another place, another level of awareness. The small child stays in the circle protected, but you find yourself walking through the portal, and when you arrive at the other side, imagine finding yourself in rural India. Perhaps you're in a mountainous part. Imagine you've been hiking or walking, maybe for days or weeks, until the air is cooler, thinner. As you keep climbing higher up in the mountains, feel yourself walking upwards, feeling your body growing lighter with each step, as though the higher you climb, the more the heavy energies of the past fall away behind you. And far below, you can see the valleys, villages glowing with tiny lights like constellations on the earth. And just imagine hearing chanting, or perhaps other sounds there in the wind. Something that sounds part human, part divine. As you continue on your journey upwards, imagine seeing the small guest house. Simple, beautiful, and welcoming. And I want you to imagine the door opens and a woman with kind, maternal eyes greets you. She welcomes you inside as though she has been expecting you. And you're struck by the warmth, the emotional warmth, but also the warmth of a nearby fire glowing. Feel the warmth on your skin and notice how the light flickers, filling the room. Maybe there's smells in this place that take you back to that feeling of being protected, safe, and welcomed. And maybe you sit by the fire and feel completely safe and completely accepted. And as you gaze into the fire, I want you to imagine your mind takes you away, perhaps to a different place on the mountain, but a place in the daytime, an imaginary journey, and you find yourself there on a mountainside, attached to a large boulder. Its surface is rough, heavy, ancient, and you realize this boulder represents a burden that you've been carrying. Perhaps echoes of guilt, false responsibilities, blame that was never justified. I want you to imagine just how heavy, perhaps even unmovable, this boulder is. And part of this boulder has already served you well, amplifying your kind-hearted nature, honing a mission to help others. But imagine that this boulder, as predictable and familiar as it is now holding you back. For a while, it helped you make sense of the senseless, helped you to feel control over the uncontrollable. But that boulder is not who you are. It was only something that you became attached to. And I want you to notice the boulder is tied to your waist with a thick rope, a rope of attachment, woven from thoughts like, if only, I should have done something, maybe I could have done more. And each strand of that rope formed from moments of compassion, misunderstood and misinterpreted as guilt. And as you look at that rope, you can feel a sense that life beyond the rope is full of limitless potential and possibilities. But while you're attached to the rope and the boulder, you are tethered, like a dog on a leash in a garden, limited by a certain radius. But I want you to feel now is the time to let go. And you don't need to understand everything to release it. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to find meaning in pain to move on from that pain. Because healing isn't about figuring out the past. It's about freeing yourself to move forward, wiser, with more experience and even more compassion. And I want you to imagine that same woman that welcomed you in to her guest house now hands you a small ceremonial knife, a symbol of choice and freedom. And imagine her looking directly into your eyes with love and certainty, saying, "You are ready." She disappears and you're left with the boulder and the rope, with a choice. You can remain attached to the boulder and limited, still attached to guilt, blame, or responsibilities that were never yours. Or you can cut the rope, be untethered, and move forwards. So imagine lifting the knife and placing it against the rope that tethers you to the boulder. And with one steady breath in and a deep exhale, you cut the cord. The rope falls away. And the boulder begins to no longer be attached to you. I want you to imagine how liberated you feel, going way beyond the radius where you were limited from before. As you walk away from the boulder, you realize it is now in your past, and all of the resources are in your future. Feel your body become lighter, like a weight has been lifted from your shoulders, that your heart is becoming freer, your mind clearer, because you are now untethered from your past, unbound from false responsibility, and released from the weight of guilt that was never yours to carry. And you may even notice a smile of acceptance coming to your face, a sign of peace, of surrender, of knowing that you can finally just be. And from that mountainside, I want you to imagine seeing everything below. Valleys, rivers, clouds. And from this higher vantage point, imagine seeing your whole life, past, present, and future, as part of a much bigger picture, as if every soul has its path, and their choices were never yours to control. You were part of their story, but not the author of their endings. And so, from this higher self-perspective, I want you to send love to those that are no longer here. You are no longer tethered to them, and they are no longer tethered to you. They are free. You are free. And you feel perhaps somewhere, at some level, they receive it, and they send love back to you. You can feel that love circle through time, reaching the small child in the meadow, reassuring them that at no point were they ever to blame, that they are safe and they are free, and there is nothing left to figure out, only life left to live. And then imagine staring into a flickering fire, realizing that the boulder in the mountain was just a journey in your imagination. And as you leave that friendly guest house, walk back through a portal, back to a sacred circle, and give that young child a hug. Tell them they are loved, that they are worthy, and they are free. And now it's time to drift back to your present. Without the weight of the past and without any burdens, you will return liberated and free. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.